multi-tools have become very popular for people who like to spend a lot of time in the woods, like I do, and for good reason. They allow you to take a whole range of tools in a relatively small, compact package. But if you've priced out a quality name multi-tool like Leatherman lately, you know just how expensive they are getting. Well, that's where something like this is the Byberry BI2049 comes in. If you're interested, keep watching. Now, before we begin, I just want to mention that when Byberry reached out and offered to send one of their multi-tools to me so that I could share it with you, I hesitated because, well, honestly, I've got quite a few in my collection already. I have some from Leatherman, some from Gerber, of course, I've got Swiss Army knives, and I've got a few others as well. I just didn't see the need for yet another multi-tool. But then when I took a closer look at the 2049, the one I'm going to show you today, and I realized it was a near perfect copy of the Leatherman Surge, and then I priced out the cost of a Leatherman Surge. I said, you know, this is well worth sharing with people because this one is so much less expensive. But the question, I guess, is it as good? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a closer look at the Byberry BI2049. I'll show you all the tools that come with it, or on it, obviously. And then I'm going to do a few demonstrations just to show you how well it works. All right, in order to keep this video to a reasonable length, I'm going to be putting all the physical specifications for the Byberry BI2049 in the video description. And what I want to do is just focus in on the tool itself, show you the tools that are on it. Now, I am comparing it to the Leatherman Surge, but I don't own a Leatherman Surge, so I can't hold them up for you side by side. But what I did do is took a close look at the Surge on Leatherman's website so I can give you at least my observations by looking at the specifications for one and comparing it against the other. So we're going to begin by, of course, showing you the sheath that it comes in. And here's the thing I like about this sheath. It has a good, sturdy, quite deep clip-on belt clip that would allow you to wear this on a duty belt. Now, I point that out for a reason because my Leatherman Wave that my wife gave me must be 30 years ago. I'm willing to say it's one of the early generations one. I carried that with me on duty for well into the end of my career. And I had to find a small leather pouch with it that I could put on my belt. Having one made that will actually do the job is a great plus. So it's good on you, Byberry, for coming up with a good pouch. Now, I'm going to take the tool out of the pouch, but I'll bring it back to you in a second because there's just two things that I want to share with you. On each side, there are some little stretch material pockets here, and in one, if I can get it out, it's might take a little bit of finagling. If I can't get it out easily, I'll just tell you what it is. It's actually a little tiny wrench. There's the wrench, and a little Allen, actually Torx key wrench, and a spare set of, I'm not going to get this out easily. Let me see if I can try it. Here we go. I can get it out. There's a little tiny plastic bag that came with a spare set of the tungsten carbide wire cutting teeth. So they just snuck away. Boy, I am having trouble today. There we go. Okay. So there are the teeth inside. So it's just a spare set of the cutting teeth for the wire cutters, and I'll be showing you those in a minute. Let me put those aside. On the other side, they gave me a couple of saw blades. Now, I looked at these saw blades and I said, man, they look awfully familiar. Yeah, they're just regular T-shank jigsaw blades. That's all they are. So if you have a package of T-shank jigsaw blades, you can choose whatever one is the one for you, whether it be the wood ones or the plastic ones or the metal ones. And you can carry those along with you, and they will be usable with the multi-tool. And then the last thing on the case itself, of course, is the selection of bits that you get. So I'm not going to read them all off, but there is a complete selection of bits that you can use with the multi-tool. I'll put the list of what each of those bits are in the video description for you as well. And let's just put that away, and we'll bring the multi-tool back into the picture. Now, the thing about a multi-tool, at least in my opinion, the thing that makes it worth considering is not the knife, it's not the saw, it's not the scissors. All those things are nice to have, but you can get those on a smaller, lighter weight Swiss Army knife, and they'll do the job, right? The thing that makes a multi-tool like this one or any of the others of a similar nature is this. It's the pliers. You don't get this on a Swiss Army knife. Now, I know somebody's going to say, yes, there is a model that comes with a little pair of pliers, and yes, I actually own that model. The Ultimate? I can't remember what it's called. But the pliers are They make do. They make do, but they're very light duty. They work for grabbing things, but they don't really work for torquing on nuts or anything else. These, on the other hand, these are real pliers. There's nothing lightweight or light duty about these. These are serious tools that will do just about any job, other than, looking for a pair of heavy-duty linesman tool. I don't think that you're going to overcome the quality of these tools. Now, I'm just going to briefly go through it. They have very fine tips. This is one of the things I look for on a multi-tool, is just how fine the closure is right at the tip, because for all intents and purposes, you may want to use this as a set of tweezers for, say, pulling out a splinter or something like that. These will work. I mean, they're a bit big and clunky, but they do come together fine enough that you can use it that way. And of course, they have the more open jaws here for grabbing onto larger nuts and the like. And they do have the tungsten cutters inside of here. Now, unlike the Surge, where the Surge has a second cutter down underneath the bottom of it, this one does not. So it won't act to cut different size wires, but it will cut, and I'll actually demonstrate cutting wire with this. So that's the single thing about a multi-tool that makes it worth considering. There are any number of jobs that you can use this for, from things like wire, as I'm going to demonstrate, lifting things off of a hot fire, or just about anything else as well. Now, before I get into the tools on the inside and the outside, I want to show you this just to get an idea. It's not something that I would have a lot of use for. You may, and that is, of course, you can use this as a measuring tool. So there is imperial and metric all along the outside of the handles, and when you put the tool together like this, you can use this to measure. If you need that precise a measurement, maybe you're making a craft, or maybe it's something even a little bit more precise. Now, this is precise as it is easy to use, if that makes sense. If you really need preciseness, you get a proper measuring tool for it. But this will certainly suffice to give you at least a rough idea, actually pretty close to perfect idea, of what the size is. Again, in inches and in centimeters on the bottom. All right, let's just close the multi-tool up and work from the outside in. So, like you might expect, there is a blade on it. I mean, it looks identical to the one on the Leatherman, as far as I can tell, and it's very much identical to the one on my Leatherman Wave. It does lock. This is made at 5CR13 MOV, which is roughly equivalent to the 420 that is used on the Leatherman. So we'll close that one out. On the other side is a serrated blade. Boy, these things are actually come in quite handy. There's a lot of dust on it. I was actually doing feather sticking with this. You'd be surprised how well you can feather stick with a well-designed serrated blade knife. It's kind of cool to be able to do that once in a while. So yeah, this works very well as well. Now, the other tools on the outside are scissors. Oh, that's back to that blade again. Scissors, yeah. This is a serious pair of scissors. They work really well. Little trick to getting the spring to lock into place. When you first open it, you have to kind of push it past its extension point, and then the spring will engage and it will work for you. They work quite well. I've cut, well, paper obviously, but leather and other materials, nylon, even some paracord, just to see the type of things you might be cutting out here in the woods. In fact, I think I would be okay with using these if I needed to for first aid purposes, like cutting a pair of pants or a shirt or whatever to get access to an injury. But honestly, in a good first aid kit, I'm probably going to have a better set of scissors for that. They again also lock out, so you have to push it down, the lock and engagement. And the last thing is this tool. Now, this is the replaceable tool. So what you get here is you get a file, a cross-cut file, a diamond edge, and then an edge file. So this gives you some options for using as a file. I've seen it recommended using this as a sharpener. But it is very fine diamond cut. I might use it on an axe. I don't think I'd use it on my knife blade unless I really rolled the edge on it and had it to get it back into shape just to be usable at all. I might sharpen with an axe with it, but otherwise no. Now this is where you can open up, remove the included tool. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. You can see it has the same T-shank as does the jigsaw blaze, and then you just drop one of those other ones or any other one that you have in your collection in and close it up. Now the only thing I will say is the blades that they included with this are a little thinner stock than this tool that's on the multi-tool itself. So they are a little bit loose. I'm actually going to put one on and do some cutting with it just to show you that it operates like that. And again, this is locked open, so you press the slide lock or the Yeah, side lock to open it up. Now, let's open the tool up and I'll show you what's on the inside. Now, here's the only difference as far as I can tell between the Byberry and the Surge. Somebody's going to say, well, the quality just can't be there. Well, as far as I can tell, I don't have the Surge, but the quality is at least equal to what my Leatherman Wave is, so I don't see any reason why this wouldn't live up to the same quality as the Surge. But here's the difference, is the selection of tools is reversed, one side to the other. So the tools are all there, but they're just on a different side. And, you know, that doesn't really make any difference. So what do we get? We get an awl. Yes, we have an awl. You ever got to have an awl on a tool like this? And it does work. I will tell you, actually it'll show up on one of the other tools, this black coating on the tools does come off. And if you get the all satin stainless steel finish one, you won't have that issue. And I don't call it an issue, it just shows that I'm using my tools. But I have used this for drilling holes, and it'll puncture leather. You could use it for a repair with some guided paracord line if you wanted to. And now you get two chisel point screwdrivers, which, you know, you can use them as is, or you could file them down and actually make a chisel out of them, which is maybe something I will do, because to be honest, I've got that other collection of bits which will do most of what I need from a screwdriver. I don't often have a need for a screwdriver itself this big, so I may actually take it right down to a sharp edge and use it as a chisel. And the can opener slash bottle opener slash wire cutter. And you can see there, that's probably a good point. You can see where some of the black has come off. Hasn't changed the function of it at all, hasn't dulled it. It's just that the coating isn't as permanent as I originally thought it was. So those are the tools on that side. And on the other side is the bit driver. I don't have any fingernails on me today. There we go. So the bit driver is held, or the bits themselves are held in by a spring-loaded ball detent right in the center. And I have the Phillips, the small Phillips, and they lock in. This is not magnetically locked. So if you have a set of bits that don't have that little detent, they will work, because that's pretty much the standard hex shape, but they won't stay in unless you drop a little magnet down inside. But otherwise, you know, this works, and it works well. I've been able to use it for doing a number of jobs. Actually, before even taking it for a review, I kept this handy with me, so all the small jobs around the house, I wanted to know, would I actually reach for it and use these bits? And the answer is yeah. It was a lot more convenient than going down to my basement, where my larger toolkits are, rummaging through to find the one I probably needed, or bringing the whole kit with me just to make sure I had the right one. Most of the time, the bits that I needed were with me on this multi-tool. So I really like that. By the way, these end tools lock and open so that you press this lever and it allows them to shut. Okay, there's not a lot more to show you, very much like the Leatherman Surge. I'll talk about the prices at the end of this video, but what I want to do is just show you a couple of small tasks that you might do with a tool like this while you're out in the woods. All right, so I found myself a little stick to do some project work with here. It's a piece of dry maple, about 3/4 of an inch. And I think that's really a reasonable size to use a multi-tool for doing small projects. And this is something you might actually do with a multi-tool if you don't want to employ your larger knife or your larger saw, you're just doing a little bit of crafting, then maybe that's where the multi-tool will come into play. So what I'm going to do is cut off a small section of this wood. In order to do that, I first have to replace the file with one of the included saw blades. And I think I'll choose the smaller of the two. Is that the smaller one? Nope, that's the smaller one here. Okay. And drop the T-shank in, close the clasp over it. Now, best way to cut when you're cutting a small piece of wood is to get over top of it so that you can cut straight up and down. I'm a bit awkward here, but I think I can do this. I'll get it started, and then I'll probably just speed up the film a little bit to get through here. The trick is, once you get started and get a groove going, is to remember that everything is on the pull cut. You don't have to press hard. That doesn't help. And now here's where I'll speed up this to finish off this cut. Okay, so very efficient, works very well, a little slow compared to maybe your big sulky, but it will do the job and do a nice fine job. All right, I'm going to find another stick so I can show you how I might attach two sticks together to make a longer stick out of the two. Okay, one task you may want to do out in the woods is attaching pieces of wood together in maybe a more permanent or a more solid connection that you can do with a piece of paracord or other types of cordage. And that's where some nice heavy gauge wire comes in. So I have some heavy gauge stainless steel wire. I forget what gauge this is. I'll write it in the video description just if you're interested. But I wanted to choose something that would be quite solid so I can show the cutting performance of the jaws on the pliers as well. Now, this is just representative of an attachment. This isn't exactly probably the type of a job I would do, a little two small pieces of wood like this. And I actually have tools that are better suited for this, but of course that only matters if you have the tools with you. So maybe I'll go around, let's just go around twice on this and bring it together, maybe up here somewhere. So I'm starting this by hand. Always a little awkward, get it started. All right, so I'm bringing the pieces of wire together, and I'm going to start the twist on them. And yes, I know I'd probably do it in two places if I was making a more permanent job of it. But here is where I would employ the pliers themselves to do the rest of the job of tightening up on this, something more than my hands can do. Give it a couple turns, not so much that I'm going to break the wire. Well, that's pretty solid. Maybe see if I can get a little tighter. All right, yeah, that's pretty solid. So now I want to get rid of these ends, but I'm not going to get rid of them completely because I just want to fold them down into the groove to tuck them out of the way. So now this is where I'll use the cuttings. And I'll do one at a time. Get in as tight as I reasonably want to. Spread the wire apart a little bit so I can get in at them. There we go. Get inside with the wire cutters, and it cuts off no problem at all. I didn't expect it would. They're heavy duty. There, okay. Now all I have to do is press, maybe tighten that up a little bit more, make a pigtail out of it that's a little tighter on the ends. Something like that. That should finish it off, and then press it down so that I tuck it out of the way. Don't catch myself or anything else on it. Okay, now this was again just a simple job, just representative of the type of work you can do with this tool. And I think the last thing I want to do is just show you what is the knife is capable of doing with a piece of wood. All right, so I'm opening up the main blade of the multi-tool, and it's a good size blade for small tasks. It's not a replacement for a belt knife. It is a small task knife, but it should be able to do at least a few tasks out here in the woods, especially if your other tool is much too large for the type of task you want to do. I think what I'll do is just see if it will do any feather sticking. Now, this is almost a full flat line. It comes up, there is a bit of flat up here, so in reality it would be classified as a high saber, and it has an extremely good edge. Now, the steel is not the greatest at what did I say, 7 CR or maybe 5 CR, 13 MOV. It's still a good steel, but just not a high-end steel. But you're not using this for extended period of time, so at least you hope you're not. I just wanted to see if I can get any curving done with this at all. I haven't done a lot of this on the wood yet because I always have another belt knife with me, I guess. And the wood is old. But I'm getting shavings. All right, so it will feather. I mean, not ideally, but you can see it makes some pretty fine shavings. This is an old piece of wood. It looks like it's starting to be spalted. The only thing I'd say is this is not a great tool for doing this for an extended period of time because obviously it's not really comfortable in the hand. Can you carve with it? Absolutely. Do you want to do it for a long period of time? Probably not. You'll probably reach for another knife. But, you know, maybe some finer carving. I probably chose the wrong piece of wood to demonstrate this off of, but it works pretty good. I like the fact that it has a bit of a rounded spine that I can lay my finger on the back to do some work with. But of course, if you're looking for a sharpened spine, then maybe you want to switch over to one of the other tools. First, let's close that up. And let's see. We'll bring the file back out. especially on the edge file. You can definitely throw sparks with a ferrocerium rod like that very aggressively. Mind you, well, let's just dig it out and throw a few sparks with it. Very aggressively, because the sharpness of this will eat away at your ferrocerium rod very quickly. All right, so it obviously does that just as well as you would hope it would. The last thing I want to show you, I think, is just using the serrated edge to get an idea just what you can do with a serrated edge. Now, this is probably not going to be the best demonstration. Same piece of wood, just to show you that you can actually cut in pretty good with this serrated edge. It will do a good job. Most people think of serrated edges in terms of rope or other materials like webbing, and yeah, that's a good legitimate use for it. But you can use a serrated edge on wood as well, just to show you that it works like that as well. You can see it digs in actually probably better than the straight edge does. All right, quick demonstration of the tools on the Byberry BI2049. We can wrap this video up. All right, and the last thing I want to do before closing out this review of the Byberry BI2049 multi-tool is talk about its price. And I saved this to the end because I know that some people are very brand loyal, and I can understand that. I absolutely love my Leathermans. I would not criticize them in any way. They're high quality tools in every sense. The story behind them is great as well if you want to research that. The thing is they just gotten so expensive. So right now for the Leatherman Surge here in Canada, okay, I say right now, at the time I prepared for this video, it was $205 Canadian. I can only imagine what it is going to be with the new tariffs applied to it. It really limits the, well, not the availability of it, they'll probably be around, but people just don't want to pay that kind of money for something they may or may not use all that often, especially when they can get something that maybe 80 to 90% is good, maybe even as good, for $60. And that's what I'm going to say, $60 for this. I'm going to be putting the prices and the links and everything in the video description, but it is very comparable to the Leatherman Surge in just about every way. I can't, as I said, I don't have the Surge, but I do have the Wave, so the quality of the construction and everything else is spot on together. But it's up to you. What do you want to pay, and how important is it for you where it's made? And I'll leave it at that. I'll put the links where you can take another look at the Byberry and multi-tools, all of them. And yeah, everything, all the specifications, they'll all be in the video description. If you have any comments or questions, put those in the comments section. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.